My husband, Caleb, male, 45, and I, 42, female, have been together for almost 10 years, married for 8 years. In the beginning, we were just so happy, you know. Every moment together was a piece of joy, filling our days with laughter, dreams, and all those little things that made us love each other even more. We were a team, tackling life side by side. Our smiles were contagious, and everything felt a bit better when we were together. Anniversary after anniversary, we soaked up the love. We had cozy Sundays and random date nights that just made everything feel right. Life was simple, and we loved every second of it. But out of nowhere, things started to change. Date nights became a bit tense, and the easy laughter didn't ring out like it used to. I started noticing that he slowly started to spend more and more time on his phone instead of with me. Date nights weren't as carefree anymore. There was this tension in the air. The happiness we had, it started to slowly disappear, and I couldn't shake the feeling that our relationship was slipping through our fingers. The intimacy we once had was slipping away, replaced by a growing distance that felt impossible to bridge. I started to suspect that Caleb might be having an affair. The late-night phone calls and mysterious messages got too frequent for me to ignore. I questioned the changes in his behavior, the way he seemed distant even when we were inches apart. But Caleb dismissed it, saying that I was reading too much into his behavior and he was just busy at work. In my gut, I knew it wasn't just paranoia. It was a sense that our marriage was taking an unexpected turn. One day, while my husband was out walking our dog, I was doing his laundry and spotted a lipstick smudge on the back of his shirt. A chill ran down my spine. It wasn't just suspicion anymore. This was a very tangible sign that he had been intimate with someone. The reality of it hit me, leaving a knot in my stomach and a sense of unease that lingered in the air. Given Caleb's history of gaslighting and deflecting my suspicions, I chose to keep my mouth shut and not immediately question him about it. Opting for a silent investigation, I delved into his laptop, my heart pounding with anticipation. Relief washed over me when my search yielded no incriminating evidence against my husband. For a second, I could feel the weight of my suspicions ease, but as the pieces of the puzzle floated in my mind, I couldn't shake off the memory of that lipstick smudge on Caleb's shirt. It dawned on me. It couldn't have been just a random accident. After all, he wore a suit over his shirt every day for work, hence the perplexing lipstick mark on the back of his shirt couldn't be dismissed as a mere coincidence. I grappled with conflicting emotions, torn between the happiness of not finding anything and the persistent gnawing feeling that something was amiss. On a Friday evening, I decided to surprise Caleb with a dinner date, hoping to rekindle our connection and perhaps delicately address the lingering question about the mysterious lipstick on his shirt. Eagerly, I headed to his office to pick him up, envisioning a night of connection and joy. However, my excitement soon turned to disappointment when a message from him claimed he would be working late due to an overwhelming workload. I sighed, accepting the change in plans without informing him that I was waiting for him downstairs. As I was just about to leave the vicinity, to my surprise, I saw Caleb exiting his workplace. I was confused as this conflicted with his message about a demanding workload. Puzzled, I watched him get into his car and drive away. Instinctively, with curiosity stirring within me, I decided to follow him. Little did I know that what I was about to see would shake me to my very core. I followed him and watched him pull into a bar. I was confused as to what he was doing here and why he was lying to me about it. As I discreetly observed him at the bar, my worst fears came to light. He was going up to different women, chatting with them, casually exchanging numbers nonchalantly. The sight was beyond shocking to see how at ease he was around other women, given that we are married. Driven by a mix of disbelief and desperation, I decided to discreetly approach a woman Caleb had just exchanged numbers with. She had come out of the bar and was probably waiting for her Uber. I went up to her and straight up asked her about Caleb. With her eyebrows raised, she asked if I knew him, and I replied that he was my husband. Her eyes widened in shock, and she promptly confirmed my worst fears. Shockingly, she disclosed that Caleb had portrayed himself as a divorced man who was going through a tough time. He had made up a sad sob story about himself and his imaginary ex, who had apparently cheated on him. I was beyond disgusted to hear the truth about my husband. I couldn't believe that he was going around lying to strangers just so he could hook up with them. The realization hit me like a gut punch, and I felt an overwhelming urge to puke. The sheer disgust mingled with the betrayal left me grappling with a mix of emotions, unsure of how to react to the depth of his deceit. I remember leaving the bar in a daze, making sure that Caleb didn't catch me. That night was the most difficult night of my life. I don't think I have ever cried so much since my dad passed away. The pain was excruciating, and to realize that the person I wanted to spend the rest of my life with was cheating on me. And the worst part was that he didn't betray me because he was in love with someone else, but he had betrayed me for meaningless flings with random women, which made the betrayal even more painful. When Caleb returned that night, I pretended to be asleep. He reeked of whiskey and sweat and didn't even bother hiding that. His brazen attitude hinted at his growing arrogance, where he had started to think that he could just get away with something like this. I stayed awake the entire night thinking of my next steps. At 6 a.m., before Caleb would wake up, I slyly took his phone out of our bedroom so I could go through it. Going through his messages, calls, emails, and pictures, I diligently documented evidence by taking photos on my own phone. This morning, after Caleb left for work, I drove to my mom's place because I knew she was the only one who could comfort me. At my mom's place, I poured out my heart, sharing every painful detail of the discovery. She listened patiently and was beyond outraged that Caleb could do such a despicable thing. My mom, being the rock that she is, discouraged me from confronting him about it because she knew Caleb could spin the story and would never admit his mistakes out loud. She urged me to start researching and consulting with a lawyer to understand my legal options. She told me what was at stake here if I continued this marriage with a cheating husband. I was a bit disorientated, but I understood her sentiments. I asked her to keep the news of my divorce private and not tell the rest of the family about it yet, and my mom agreed. For the next few weeks, I delved into researching and contacting potential legal representatives, seeking someone who could guide me through the upcoming challenges. Working from home allowed me the flexibility to invest time in finding the right lawyer. I knew it was time to be strategic and ensure the best outcome for myself. This is how I met Loretta, an adept Latino attorney renowned for her representation of women in extramarital affair cases during divorce. I sat down with her and together we strategized a plan to navigate my situation. We discussed potential approaches and legal steps to ensure a smooth process as I prepared myself to move forward with my decision to end my marriage. Everything seemed to be going smoothly and I was getting ready to face Caleb. He had no clue about what I was going to do and kept up with his late-night work routine. Our anniversary was just around the corner and I didn't want to spoil the memory of our marriage with divorce papers, so I decided to wait until after our anniversary celebration to break the news to him. Little did I know, things were about to get even worse. On that fateful anniversary, I prepared an amazing dinner for Caleb, thinking that this was going to mark our last dinner together ever as a couple. As I waited for Caleb to return home, I got a notification on my phone from my younger sister. I opened it to find an image of Rachel and Caleb, both wearing smug smiles, seemingly sharing an intimate moment. Utterly confused, I wondered if it was an AI-generated image or if my sister's phone got hacked. Worried, I called her right away to check if everything was all right. Rachel answered the call calmly. I asked her if she was okay and her phone was hacked. She replied curtly that the picture was very much real. My heart sank and I struggled to comprehend the betrayal unfolding. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, so I bombarded Rachel with questions, hoping it was some twisted joke. She nonchalantly explained how she and Caleb met at a bar a few weeks ago and felt a connection. I was baffled, trying to understand how my sister could betray me like this. Rachel went on, rubbing salt in the wound, claiming that Caleb had told her that he was the happiest when he was around her. My sister's words cut through me like a knife. I never expected Rachel, my own blood, to betray me this way. She continued describing how they planned to reveal their relationship on the day of our anniversary because Caleb didn't want to pretend any further. The pain of her admission only deepened the wounds already inflicted by Caleb's deceit. I struggled to comprehend how two people so close to me could orchestrate such a cruel twist of fate. The conversation ended with Rachel arrogantly saying she hoped I would understand their love and leave Caleb peacefully. As she hung up, a mix of emotions overwhelmed me: shock, betrayal, and the crushing weight of the crumbling pillars of trust in my life. I felt blindsided by what had just happened, and the reality of my shattered world sank in. Rachel, my younger sister, had always been close to me, or so I thought. Our bond was built on shared childhood memories, countless laughs, and the unspoken trust between siblings. It never crossed my mind that this seemingly unbreakable connection would crumble because of my husband. Tears streamed down my face, but this time it wasn't because of what Caleb was doing to me. It was the heartbreak of realizing what my younger sister had just done. Amid my pain, I decided to send one final message to Caleb. I wanted him to know how deeply he had hurt me, so I poured my emotions into words, expressing the betrayal and disappointment I felt. It was a difficult message to write, but I knew I needed to stand up for myself. I sent a picture of the divorce papers we were about to sign, along with the message that I would be leaving these papers for him at home, so he should sign them at the earliest. I also sent the same picture to my younger sister, wishing her good luck once she uncovered the truth about Caleb, and letting her know that I was about to divorce him the next month anyway. I anticipated the smugness in her expression might crumble once the reality of her choices sank in. With the weight of my decisions pressing on me, I gathered the strength to get ready to move out. As I called my mother to ask if I could stay at her place, she could sense something was amiss from the tone of my voice. She urged me to come over immediately, her concern echoing through the phone. When I arrived at her place with my packed belongings, the floodgates of emotions burst open. I broke down in tears, finding solace in the comforting embrace of my mother, who kept asking if Caleb had done something to me again. I didn't know how to tell her what Rachel had done to me, so I showed her the picture that my sister had sent me earlier. My mother's eyes widened in shock as she stared at the picture, and a heart-wrenching scream escaped her lips. The realization of what my sister had done hit her like a tidal wave. She collapsed onto the couch, her face twisted in disbelief and anguish. Amidst her breakdown, she uttered words of disbelief, questioning how Rachel could betray me in such a way. In the midst of her shock, she held me close, assuring me that we would get through this together and that she would support me no matter what. Her words were a comforting balm, offering a glimmer of strength in the face of the painful truth. In the days following this incident, I find myself emotionally drained, unable to summon the strength to even get out of bed. The weight of the betrayal, coupled with the exhaustion of countless tears, has left me feeling like a mere shell of myself. Sleep has become both my refuge and my escape from the painful reality. My mother, fueled by a mix of anger and concern, took it upon herself to confront Rachel. She has called her repeatedly, hoping for some semblance of remorse or understanding. However, each conversation has only fueled Rachel's defiance instead of acknowledging the pain she has caused. Rachel insists that her newfound relationship with Caleb is rooted in love and keeps vehemently denying that she did anything wrong. She has also gone as far as to say that Caleb was never happy with me anyway. In the moments of silence, my mind keeps replaying the image of Caleb and Rachel's smug smiles. The betrayal cut deeper than I could have imagined, and the wounds have festered with each passing day. I kept going back and forth on whether I should tell Rachel the reason behind why I was going to divorce Caleb. She seems to be oblivious about the depth of his betrayal, and I know Caleb won't ever tell her anything. However, Rachel's unabashed smugness and apparent lack of empathy is making me wonder if I will be the a-hole for not giving her a heads up, at least about what lies ahead for her, if she goes along with her decision. Update 1. I have woken up to hundreds of messages and comments from people expressing their support and reaching out to show they care. I am truly grateful to everyone because I didn't expect such a positive response when sharing my story. Following the advice of many, I have decided to have a sit-down with my sister in the coming week. As her older sister, I feel it's my responsibility to share my perspective and reveal the truth about Caleb. If, after hearing everything, she chooses to stay with him, then that's on her, and I won't let it bother me any further. I will be meeting with my lawyer today to update her about this ongoing situation, as we will be required to disclose everything during our divorce proceedings. Caleb sent me a text informing me that he signed the papers and would be filing them. Curiously, he questioned how I managed to prepare the papers so swiftly, oblivious to the fact that my awareness of his infidelity had led me to prepare our separation long before he even acknowledged the situation. I didn't bother replying back to him. Hopefully we can initiate the process of separation in the next few weeks. My family members are now aware of the situation and they all stand firmly by my side. They are disgusted by Caleb's infidelity with multiple women and express concern for my sister. Forgiving her for being involved with someone else's husband is something they find incredibly difficult, given the gravity of the situation. We'll update next when I meet my sister in the following week. Update 2. As I had mentioned earlier, I decided it was time to have a heart-to-heart with my sister, so I reached out to her. I made it clear that I wasn't looking for a fight, just an honest conversation. Surprisingly, she agreed to meet up, and we found a quiet place to talk. When we finally met up, I could feel the tension as we sat down for what was going to be a very difficult conversation. I urged Rachel to be honest and open, assuring her that I wanted to know what was going on inside her head. At first, she maintained a smug demeanor, almost reveling in the attention she believed she had stolen from me. Rachel began to describe her feelings for Caleb, saying how she had always desired him and thought I wasn't good enough for him. She continued to say how she had always wanted us to break up while we were dating, but we eventually married each other and she had lost all hopes. She described how they met in the bar by chance and started to talk about his marriage, where Caleb painted our connection as lacking, almost dismissive of the years I have invested in our relationship. She realized how unhappy he was with me, so she comforted him, which eventually turned into something more between them. As she continued to describe their relationship, Rachel's smugness transformed into a subtle arrogance, seemingly fueled by the belief that she had triumphed in some twisted competition. She told me how he kept pursuing her for the next few weeks and even talked about leaving me for her. I struggled to keep my composure, silently absorbing the words that were tearing at the fabric of our bond. Rachel then started to demean me by saying I shouldn't be jealous of her for being a better partner. She questioned my worth as a partner and suggested that I was somehow responsible for his actions. Her audacity reached new heights as she insisted that I should be the one offering an apology. According to her, I was the catalyst for the anger and disapproval flowing from our family members. In her warped version of reality, the blame shifted onto me as if my pain and the betrayal I was experiencing were mere inconveniences in the grand narrative she had constructed in her own head. I chose not to engage in this futile argument as I knew her accusations were unfounded. Instead, I maintained my composure in my attempt to keep the conversation civil. I was about to reveal her my side of the story when Rachel dropped a bombshell. She revealed that she had recently discovered she was pregnant with Caleb's child. This revelation hit me like a ton of bricks, and I felt a deep sadness thinking about how this would be connecting her to Caleb forever. She explained that she and Caleb had discussed their options, and despite the strained circumstances, they had decided to move forward with the pregnancy. Rachel seemed to be relishing the idea of her future with Caleb, her confidence evident as she detailed her visions of family life with him. The joy in her eyes seemed oblivious to the horror on my face. As she shared this, a mix of emotions flooded over me: sadness for my sister, frustration at the predicament she found herself in, and a profound sense of hopelessness. I took a deep breath with measured words and started to reveal my side of the story. I explained that my decision to divorce Caleb had been in the works for weeks. I recounted finding a lipstick smudge on his shirt a few months ago and gradually discovering his interactions with women in bars. I continue revealing how he had been unfaithful for a long time, leading me to stop being intimate with him after learning the truth. Hearing this, Rachel immediately started denying that this couldn't be true, insisting Caleb would have told her otherwise. I shook my head at her callousness, making her realize she wasn't the only woman Caleb could have cheated on me with. Her initial disbelief gradually gave way to the undeniable truth as I presented pictures, emails, and messages that laid bare Caleb's deceit. I explained how I had been preparing to divorce him and was planning to serve him divorce papers after our anniversary. Rachel, confronted with the evidence, started to backtrack. She claimed that even if Caleb cheated, he loved her and they were meant to be together. I retorted that their connection was built on a bunch of lies. As she tried to continue to defend Caleb's actions, I highlighted how I had felt the same way as she did when I first found out about what he had been doing and the emotional toll it had taken on me. In the midst of our conversation, her initial arrogance waned and she began to grasp the gravity of the situation. When I questioned her how she could betray me like this, she appeared remorseful, but insisted that her feelings for Caleb overpowered any sense of familial loyalty. She kept insisting that what they had was special. By this point, there was nothing left for me to say, so I quietly accepted the fact that my sister was making choices that would forever alter our relationship. With a heavy heart, I bid her adieu, wishing her the best of luck in the challenging path she had chosen with Caleb. The weight of betrayal lingered, but I had made my peace with the fact that our bond was irreparably damaged by the choices she had made. Since talking with my sister, I have found a sense of closure that has lightened my heart. I'm lucky to have my mother by my side during these challenging times, providing the support I need as I navigate through the emotions and uncertainties ahead. Update 3. It's been 5 months since my last update and life has taken unexpected turns. The divorce proceedings with Caleb have been almost finalized. Luckily, we don't have kids or much stuff to split, so we're close to wrapping it up. This will mark the end of a chapter in my life that I can't wait to close and move on from. While the legal process has been challenging because I have to face Caleb every time, I find solace in the support of friends and family who have rallied around me during these tough times. The news of my sister's pregnancy hit my mother particularly hard. When she found out, her initial shock turned into deep disappointment. She has since refused to talk to Rachel. The hurt was evident in her eyes, as she still can't fathom the choices my sister has made. On the other hand, Rachel has not reached out to me since our last meeting. Despite the shock of discovering Caleb's betrayal, she has chosen to continue her journey with him. The pregnancy is progressing and Rachel and Caleb will be becoming parents very soon. While part of me wishes them well for the sake of the innocent life that they are planning to bring into the world, the scars of betrayal still linger. Amid these challenges, I am dedicated to working on myself and leaving all this toxicity behind me. I want to work on my personal growth, find joy in simple pleasures, and nurture the resilience within me. I have rediscovered some of my old passions and rekindled friendships with old friends that had otherwise taken a back seat during my marriage with Caleb. I know with the passage of time, my wounds will eventually heal, and I can't wait to see what lies ahead in my life. Thank you to everyone who has been a part of this journey, offering support, empathy, and encouragement. While the road ahead remains uncertain, I embrace the possibilities and count the blessings that come with each new day. Stay tuned for more stories from Our Girl Relationships.